On November 24, 2009, Jon Jones, a 26-year-old medical student, descended into the Nutty Putty Cave near Salt Lake City. He was an experienced caver, joined by his brother and friends for a Thanksgiving week adventure. But deep underground, about 150 feet below the surface, Jon would make a fatal mistake. The cave was a known labyrinth, infamous for its tight claustrophobic squeezes like the birth canal. Jon had navigated these passages before, but this time, exploring a section near an area called the corkscrew, he shimmied head first into an unmapped fissure, believing it opened into a larger room. He was wrong. The space constricted around him to just 18 inches wide by 10 inches high, barely the size of a laptop screen. He was trapped, upside down at a 70-degree angle. His arms were pinned, his legs were useless. With every breath he took, the pressure on his chest increased, and gravity pulled him deeper into the unyielding rock. His brother's call for help launched a monumental rescue operation. Over the next 27 hours, nearly 140 volunteers fought to free him. The cave's tight, twisting passages made every inch of progress a battle. They eventually rigged a complex system of ropes and pulleys, and for one brief moment, it worked. They began to inch him out. But in the soft, clay-like rock, an anchor point broke loose. The system failed catastrophically, and Jon slid back down, deeper and more tightly wedged than before. Hope was extinguished. A few minutes before midnight, after 27 hours inverted, Jon Jones died from cardiac arrest, caused by the immense strain on his body. Rescuers faced a final, grim reality. Retrieving his body was simply too dangerous. The risk of another tragedy was too high. So the decision was made to seal the Nutty Putty Cave forever. Today, it stands as a permanent tomb, a concrete-filled memorial to the man trapped within its depths.
Imagine the earth squeezing you. Jon tried to free himself, but every struggle was a betrayal. The rocks only tightened their grip. Pinned upside down in a tunnel no wider than a washing machine opening, he couldn't move up or back. He could only call for help. His friend Josh came, then left for professionals, knowing this was beyond them. Hours bled into one another. Jon's body, inverted and crushed, began to wage war on itself. His own organ, his lungs. Every breath became a deliberate, painful effort. When rescuers finally reached him, the cave itself became the adversary. Its narrow, winding passages choked their progress. They threaded ropes and pulleys down the tight crevice, but the friction of the stone walls fought back, making every inch of progress a crueling battle. Time was their enemy, and it was winning. Circulation was failing in his legs. Yet through it all, Jon's voice came through a communications line, astonishingly calm. He was fully aware of the danger, of his body slowly shutting down. He spoke to the rescue team. He even spoke to his wife, Emily, reassuring her through the static that he would be free soon, a promise born of love against a backdrop of impossible odds. As night wore on, the hope that had flickered in the dark began to fade. The pulley system wasn't enough. The friction was too great, the angle too severe. After 27 agonizing hours, Jon's body could endure no more. The rescue mission became a recovery, and then an impossibility. The cave that had trapped him would not let him go. In the end, they made the only decision they could. They sealed the entrance forever, turning the cave into a final resting place, a permanent memorial to a man swallowed by the earth.
Jon tried to squirm free, but with every movement, the rock walls of the Utah cave known as Nutty Putty tightened their grip. He was wedged upside down, head first in a fissure no wider than a washing machine door. Unable to move back up the narrow tunnel, he called for his friend Josh, who quickly realized this was a situation beyond their control and raced for help. Hours began to crawl by. Jon remained trapped, inverted. This wasn't just being stuck. It was a medical emergency in slow motion. The human body is not designed to hang upside down. His own organs began pressing against his lungs, making each breath shallower than the last. Blood pooled in his head, putting immense pressure on his brain and forcing his heart to work against gravity, a battle it could not win indefinitely. When a massive rescue team finally arrived, the cave itself became the adversary. Its narrow, winding passages choked their progress, making it agonizingly slow to move people and equipment.
They set up a sophisticated system of ropes and pulleys, drilling anchors into the soft calcite walls, hoping to hoist him out. But the friction was immense. For every inch they gained, the cave seemed to reclaim it. Jon, remarkably, stayed calm. Through a radio system, he spoke with the rescuers, even reassuring his wife Emily that he'd be out soon. But as the hours stretched past 12, then 20, the physical toll became undeniable. His legs, starved of blood flow for too long, had gone numb. The strain on his circulatory system was unbearable. After 27 hours trapped upside down, his heart finally gave out. Rescuers, exhausted and devastated, concluded that recovering his body was simply too dangerous. The Nutty Putty Cave was sealed with concrete, becoming Jon's final, silent tomb.
Jon Jones slid headfirst into the dark. He was looking for a tight but familiar passage in Utah's Nutty Putty Cave known as the Birth Canal. Instead, he entered an unmapped fissure. As he wriggled forward, the rock closed in, gripping him until he could move no more. He was completely stuck, wedged upside down at a sharp 70-degree angle in a crevice just 10 inches wide and 18 inches high, 400 feet from the cave's entrance. A massive rescue operation involving over 100 people began almost immediately. But the cave itself was the biggest obstacle. The narrowness of the passages made progress excruciatingly slow. Rescuers had to squeeze through impossibly tight spaces just to reach him, forcing them to work in exhausting shifts. Only a few could be near Jon at a time, their tools all but useless in the cramped confines. Every inch they tried to pull him out, the rock seemed to pull him back in. As the hours stretched through the night and into the morning, Jon's body was in revolt. Humans are not built to remain inverted. The sustained pressure was severely impacting his organs, and his body was losing its ability to function. The air around him grew thin and stale, each breath becoming a greater struggle. Yet through the intense pain and physical failure, he kept talking. He spoke to the rescuers working just feet away from him, and through a two-way communication system, his wife Emily's voice reached him from the surface. She encouraged him to hang on, to keep fighting. But by now, Jon was showing signs of extreme exhaustion. His speech became slurred, his strength fading with every passing minute. After 19 agonizing hours, the rescue team was growing desperate. They considered a drastic, horrifying measure, breaking Jon's legs to try and maneuver him through the narrow space. The physical and emotional toll on the rescuers themselves was immense. They were exhausted, running on pure adrenaline, knowing that Jon's situation was becoming more dire with each tick of the clock. It was at this critical juncture that fate delivered its cruelest blow. One of the ropes supporting their complex pulley system snapped. The jolt injured a rescuer and sent Jon sliding back down deeper into the fissure he was trapped in. Any progress they had made was instantly erased. The team was forced to pause their efforts to deal with the injury. As they regrouped, the grim reality became undeniable. Jon was now stuck deeper than ever, and time had run out. After more than 24 hours, the damage to his body was irreversible. He'd lost all circulation in his legs. Despite the severe pain he'd endured, parts of his body had gone numb. He was no longer able to help himself in any way. Outside, his family waited, holding on to a hope that was slowly being extinguished. Emily reassured him they would be together soon, unaware of the full extent of the horror unfolding below. At 11:56 a.m. on Wednesday, November 25th, after 27 hours trapped in the cave, Jon Jones was pronounced dead. The rescue had failed. The team, who had worked tirelessly and risked their own lives, were devastated. In the end, the cave would not let him go. Retrieving his body was deemed too dangerous, an impossible task that would put more lives at risk. In agreement with his family, the decision was made to seal the Nutty Putty Cave permanently. It would become Jon's tomb. A plaque was placed at the entrance, commemorating his life, and the entire cave system was sealed off, never to be explored again. The cave, once a place of adventure, had become a final, silent resting place.